You're gonna look really young. That's good. That's what we all need on a Wednesday night when we're talking. Yeah, I'm gonna. It's the second. I'll get these.
A little scotch.
All right. It's Wednesday night and we're talking lighting.
It's Wednesday night with old dudes DJing. I'm old dude Bill and that's old dude John. And welcome, little Welsh whippersnappers. You want to be DJs? Well, we can be sure you're DJs when we're all done.
But don't play that music so loud.
Don't play music loud and drink lots of beer from a big mug.
That's what we all need on a Wednesday night. I got too much noise going on. Well, we're live.
What?
Well, you see what happens is that we've got windows that are from YouTube. So when we're actually live streaming, which for those of you out there,
God, we've been recording already.
Yes, we're actually live. For those of you who are seeing this, yes, there's some of the shows we shoot and we do earlier because, well, usually, again, we're old, and after the 4:00 buffet, this is way past our bedtime.
Keep it to yourself.
So this is our Wednesday night lighting chat, and I am welcoming my very good friend, Mr. Bill Hermann. Good evening.
Good evening, John. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah,
I think you're the only person in the DJ industry that would think about lighting and call me.
Maybe it's a scary and weird kind of a fetish thing, but whenever I think about anything, I call you.
Yeah, I'm going to leave that there. So many things going through my head right now that your wife wouldn't appreciate. So I'm just going to let you continue on.
Probably none of them are good. Yeah,
none of them are good.
But yeah, it's our Wednesday night. Typically, we're talking lighting, and it was a great experience and a good opportunity because last week you had a lighting. Wait a second, that sounds like you don't ever see lighting, but you had some. Additional lighting training that you attended. I did.
I went to the lighting symposium here in Minneapolis and St. Paul, put together by Chauvet Lighting and Mike Farino and Ben Stowe and lots of other sponsors that were there. Their title sponsor, of course, was Chauvet Lighting. I believe Eternal was there as well as Blizzard. But it was quite an experience and very eye-opening in a lot of ways.
Oh, I bet.
Thanks, John. Yeah. It sounds like you're going to hug me. Oh, I bet.
I know it is. Bill. It is.
I really bet.
For those of us who we grew up with the coffee cans and the floodlights, and you've been in this industry. I'll just say as long as I have, so that way.
Yeah, a couple of years. I think we started in 2012,
7 or 8, maybe 9, but. It's been an evolution, and what you were seeing down there is basically, in many ways, not only the cream of the crop in some technology, but the cream of the crop in knowledge from some of the presenters.
Honestly, absolutely. I mean, people that are looking to do really amazing lighting right now, concert lighting and stadium lighting for a lot of the sports teams are literally going to Ben Stowe right now. And Northern Light Effects, and his knowledge in what he's doing is just it's difficult to even follow. He's so far forward when it comes to technology, and to have someone like me sitting in a class that when I started, I had a light bulb light and a switch from a wall. I wish I would have known we were talking about this. I would have brought in I literally have a lighting controller that I created out of old metal boxes. Yeah, I still have it. The metal electrical boxes that you put into a wall, and then the light switches. And I've got I think 8 switches on it that I would plug a light into. And I mean that was technology back then. Jason Jones, my partner on the Bill and Jason show and the Entertainment Experience, he and his father created a light show out of Folgers coffee cans. There's literally photographs out there. You can see it, and it worked really great. So, I mean, back then, that was like, this is technology. Oh, yeah. And the stuff they're doing now is it's like stuff we never thought would be possible.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. Isn't it just incredible? It is. And you go and you're attending these things and seeing, it's intimidating. It's exhilarating. and at times it makes me feel really, really old.
Yeah. Well, I like to think of I like to think of myself as a guy who likes to learn new things, and I like new technology.
Yeah.
And I like learning all this stuff. And that part of the world of what I do went past me really quickly when it came to actually knowing how to make it work. Now, I know what I want things to do, and I can find people like Ben or designers that know how to use great lighting, like the folks of Chevet Lighting. And in fact, over in South Dakota, Jeremy Brack is doing some amazing things as well. And whenever I need to do something amazing at an event that I do, I call people like that.
Right.
Because I've got an old cop light, that goes, that's about all I got, and I got a blue one and a red one. So I've got two effects, actually. It's really amazing. But to be able to, what they're doing and how they're doing it has to do with binary coding and amazing stuff with intelligent lighting and DMX and cabling and knowing exactly how to make these things happen wirelessly in huge events. And back in the day when I was trying to do that sort of thing, with the kind of lighting that Jason Jones was doing with coffee can lighting and the stuff that I made, I needed 10 people to be able to make one of these effects happen that they can do at the touch of a touch screen, just, boom, on a button. And all of a sudden they're doing things that took 10 people less than 10 years ago. So it's pretty extraordinary.
Now, one of course, you guys have the educational seminar yourselves called the entertainment experience, where you're talking about, and you're covering many things, but one of the aspects of is you're talking about staging. Right. In your event. And when you guys were talking, I've been listening to you talk about the lighting symposium, and as you were watching that, now there's going to be times when you're doing your staging. As an example, let's just look at a couple cutting their cake. Now, as you're watching that, is lighting entering into your staging thoughts when you're doing things like that, or is lighting just one of those things you don't pay attention to? I mean, where is Bill Hermann now in that scale when it comes to staging? Is lighting into that equation?
Lighting has always been a part of that equation. Being able to do the kind of lighting that people can do now with less people and with pre-programmed DMX computer programming. There's more possibilities now because of that sort of thing. It's always been part of the equation. How using lighting in a room to be able to stage, okay, well, you went to cake cutting. You've got a cake in one part of the room and you want to be sure that everyone sees it. Bringing lights down in the entire room and bringing up lights just where you want people's attention to be, that stages whatever you're trying to do. Now, it also, you have to look into, what you can see behind the cake, and if that light is illuminating things we don't want it to illuminate. But that's taking everything into consideration. When you can use something as dramatic as lighting, and when the eye itself, when you mess with the aperture of your pupil by bringing the lights down and then back up again real quickly, that attention span can go right to pinpointed spots in staging. People do that in theatrical staging all the time. If you've ever gone to see any Broadway show, and there's one spot in the stage where they can't completely change the staging, but something has to happen off stage as if it's like happening 6 miles away in another part of the story. They can bring all the lights down on the stage and bring up one small white pin spot over to the corner where the bad guys are talking about what's going on, or the good guys or whatever. And there's many times on a stage where they don't do any kind of brick and mortar and wooden staging at all. They just use lighting cues and spots on the stage where the actors need to be, where they bring this up, or they use a little red lighting, or they use a wave effect with texture to be able to show that there's fire, things like that. All those things are absolutely needed, something you can do even at a wedding. And now with DMX and with the stuff they were teaching at this lighting symposium, you can do the same sorts of things that a major production and Broadway can do in a room, depending on where you want that staging and attention to be.
Yeah. Yeah, wow, what kind of detail and capabilities that we didn't have.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you know a lot about computers and you understand coding and you understand these DMX programs that I'm sure are a lot easier than I'm making it out to be. I mean, I honestly, oftentimes when they got into a lot of this stuff, because I'm so far behind in that kind of technology, I felt like kind of a toddler in a calculus class on a regular basis. But a team of people in lighting in a Broadway show to be able to do the kind of things they're doing, you can do at a wedding now with DMX lighting, and one person and a computer program would have taken 30 people on a Broadway show and a Broadway stage. So the application is endless for the mobile DJ who's trying to create really amazing moments and be able to do it just him and maybe one other person, and sometimes maybe just him. And it really depends on what he's trying to do. I mean, for me, lighting is an enhancement to the story we're already creating. But lighting in itself, all by itself, can still have dramatic impact to opening things and moving people through the room, from introductions to cake cuttings to speeches to spotlight dances to whatever might be happening that is important to be able to be seen.
You mentioned, lighting being a large component of the story. When do you think now? Because
of the staging and the framing,
the framing, and part of putting it together. But as DJs, especially guys who like gear, which we all do, it's really, we find ourselves sometimes going overboard. And when do you think when does a person pass from being adding to the story and overtaking the story? Are you following?
I know exactly what you're saying, and very often. That's where looking beyond the equipment and what really makes us go, ooh, and really being able to understand that there is a story being told. One white pin spot in a room at the right moment can give a dramatic look and a dramatic moment to any event that you're doing, whether it be a wedding reception or a Broadway show or whatever. And a great lighting designer knows when to use this lighting and when not to use his lighting. A great lighting designer understands that darkness is just as impactful in a room as bright white light. And when those things are used, gets down to now breaking down the story. And that's why, staging and using lighting in the entertainment experience specifically is just one component.
Yeah.
And knowing how to use it and when to use it is really important, because you're right. I could go out and spend $20,000 in cool lighting from Chevet and from Ben Stowe at Northern Light Effects, and put it all up and put it all together and just turn it all on, and it is cool, man. It's really cool, but not as cool as using it at the right time at the right moment. And Ben will tell you that, and the people who design this lighting will tell you that, and any great designer in a theatrical production will certainly tell you that, because honestly, from my perspective, lighting is like a box of paints, and the room is a beautiful canvas, and one stroke of a red brush across that canvas can be unbelievably amazing, and that's all you need. And other times you may need to be Jackson Pollock, and there's lights and spots of color everywhere to make this whole thing amazing, to be able to really affect the room and enhance what's going on and to express what needs to be expressed by your client and by you. So giving some thought to it, some thought ahead of time to make sure that what you do is as impactful as you hope it's going to be, instead of what I've seen, young kids who just getting out started, gets a whole bunch of cool DJ lighting, turns it all on, that was me, and that's all you know.
Yeah.
That's all you do. It's like, okay, and hopefully it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall, and hopefully one of them's going to stick, and the room's going to be really, wow, that's a cool one sticking to the wall. As opposed to knowing that what we're going to do is going to make the room gasp, or is going to put a mood of cool in the room, or a mood of warmth, or playfulness. And you can do that with the lighting and the texture of the DMX and the new thing and the new technology that's out right now. It's quite extraordinary.
Yeah, and that's really, as you've kind of alluded to, is such a difference from when we first started, because it was about. I mean, I can remember some of my early shows going back to those metal boxes we all built, and one of them was a 12 volt or whatever device that was kicking out, and it was running police beacons.
Right.
And
yeah, baby.
From the beginning of the show to the end of the show, we weren't concerned about setting mood or telling the story or having a flow or continuity to our story. We were there to show off those beacons.
Absolutely. And as much as we talk about how that was a long time ago, for you and me, that was a long time ago. But for young men and women that are getting into it now, many of them are still thinking the same exact way with a light that costs them $1,000 or $2,000, whereas our police beacon costs them $100. But the mindset isn't really that much different.
Yeah.
Because they're not giving any thought to it, and those that are giving thought to it, those that are trying to paint with emotion and with impactfulness into the room, are making people really understand that this is an amazing thing. And you can do the same thing with a police beacon, with some thought.
Yeah.
Okay. You can do better with a police beacon with DMX lighting if you give a lot of thought to how you're going to use a police beacon, as opposed to no thought with all the DMX controlled $1,000 worth of lights. Now, take the same two things and put somebody who really knows what they're doing and really gives a lot of thought to it and a police beacon, and they win every day.
Sure.
But that's the step forward. Within all the technology is wonderful, but then you have to take that step forward of, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Why is it important to use it? Because I've seen one really great light do way better than tons of puke and spin.
Yeah.
Which is what many people regularly call let's just turn it on and puke and spin.
Yeah.
Which from our perspective is cool. From the client's perspective, it's cool for a little while, and then it's like, well, surprise me with something, will you?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's too bad if they can't, especially when you can spend as much money as you can on lighting.
Yeah, and there's just so many options that are.
Yeah, there really are.
And really,
I saw some amazing things at this that I never thought would ever be possible.
Yeah.
Especially lighting without any cords.
Oh wow!
I mean, the idea of setting up lighting in a room and have it all completely wireless, and battery powered, 5 years ago was unheard of.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Now it's like you wouldn't want to go out with anything but anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just incredible. We got to see down in at Mobile Beat at the Las Vegas DJ, or the Mobile Beat show in Las Vegas, excuse me.
Right.
They had Chauvet had a room set up, and Jeremy Breck, our friend there from South Dakota, had set up some incredible lighting things that he was doing in there, and he's picking it up, no cords, easily controlled. Everything's
right.
Yeah, just. One
of my favorite things that they did at there, and that he brought to this lighting symposium, is something that Jeremy suggested to Chauvet about 4 months before the show in Las Vegas, which was this little light. I swear it was not much bigger than my glasses here. White light, about that long, and with a little bracket to it. And he took it and he turns it on, and it's a bright light pin spot that doesn't make much more of a circle than about that when it hits the ground or it hits the table. And he reaches up and he just attaches it with it has a magnet.
Oh yeah.
It attached it to the drop ceiling and just went boom. It's not wired. It's battery powered. He pointed it right at the center of every little table in the room, and they sell those now for about $400 for a pack of 6, I think,
something
or maybe it's a pack of 4,
which
is just incredible, and the easy way to impact the room and give each table a spot without having to now worry about whether I'm going to be able to hide a wire in the ceiling, or if the facility will allow me to touch their ceiling because they're worried I'm going to scratch anything. But all you need to do now is find one spot in the ceiling that has some magnetic power or a piece of metal, and boom. And it holds. I mean, literally, I think you could have hung from the damn thing. It was so strong. It was very, very cool. And it's a small way to do something really impactful. And Jeremy, if he's not going to be a president of that company very soon, I'll be very surprised. Because they're doing really well because of that little idea that Jeremy came up with.
Yeah, that is a sweet light. If I remember correctly, that was the Easy Pin. is what that fixture was.
Called that guy.
You saw so much. I mean,
I don't remember anything.
I know when I go to these big shows and there's so many lights and they're showing all these new things and it's like this sensory overload going on.
Well, every year there's something really, really different that you think that's going to be the next big, huge, amazing thing.
Yeah.
What was it? 2 years ago, we saw a DJ controller that was about that big and about that wide, and a couple of guys going around from Korea or something like that. And they can control everything from your iPad in your pocket from this little controller.
Yeah.
Handheld. I can't remember. Did that ever take off? Because I thought it was cool as heck.
There's actually at NAM back in January, there were a couple of other variations of that from some different companies. Yeah, and it's one of those things that it looks cool. It's just a question of if it will be practical in the DJ world. There's some things that look great on paper, and just to get it.
And there's some things that people like me will buy because that's cool, and I'll never use it. I mean, I got a whole closet full of that's cool. And I bought it.
Oh, I bet I can do something with that.
Yeah, or even if it's not, it's like, wow, what the heck, man? I'll take it home and it'll sit in a box for years.
Oh, I mean, we've heard of people who do that. Not that we've.
That wouldn't be us.
That wouldn't be us. No, we've never been. Never been that
especially
way.
If my wife is watching, I never do.
No, that closet over there that's locked all the time. The kids.
That is important business stuff that I need.
My fishing gear is in that closet.
Right. Every album I've ever bought, I still own, and she's regularly, do you need these? Yes, I do.
You never know.
The first speakers I bought in 1979.
Yeah, when you've got your speakers.
Were old when I bought them. I still have them. I never ever use them.
That's so sad.
It is really.
Oh. Well, cool. So yeah, it sounds like the Lighting Symposium was a great event and a lot of great information.
It really was. Yeah. We got a chance to. Ben Stowe did a lot of speaking and talked a lot about the technical side of Show Express, which is a controller for DMX lighting. Then he had a lighting designer from the world of theater who spoke for about an hour, which is really interesting. Several other speakers, and I'm going to insult people for not remembering everybody's names. But everyone was very smart and interesting to listen to. And even though this old dog every once in a while kind of got lost in all of the computer O's and ones and digital binary coding that they talked about every once in a while, it still was really fascinating to see all of that stuff and to have people there who knew what they were doing to be able to say, hey, it's not that big a deal, man. You can figure it out. And that was very empowering.
Yeah. Yeah, that looked to be a fabulous event with a lot of great. Actually, there's know quite a few of the people there, and one of the gentlemen, his name is Mike, and I don't remember his last name, but Mike is actually one of the head guys up at the Sanford Center up in Bemidji, and I believe he did something on rigging.
Oh, that's right. Yes, yeah. Mike. And you know how he's. Mike, I didn't get to see the whole thing. I got to see his open, which is all I really needed to see. He came in and says, my name is Mike, and I am a certified rigger. I know this stuff better than anybody else. I'm certified, I'm licensed, I'm insured. And here's your seminar. Be sure you hire a certified, licensed, insured rigger. Thank you. And he walked off. And that's when I went, I could have done that. But I mean, I had to run because my kids are getting out of school. But he did a bunch of cool things and went over a lot of really amazing things with everybody. I found out later about rigging.
Yeah, and I got to meet him actually last weekend. I went up to see one of the big projects that Ben and his crew have done, and that's doing the sound and lighting at the Sanford Center, which is the Bemidji State. It's the university uses it for their hockey, and it's kind of their multi-purpose building.
Right.
So when you're talking about someone who is very technically savvy, Ben, with a knowledge of audio, Ben, and wiring, Ben, and lighting, Ben, and he could put him in that, and video. I mean, he's throwing these numbers out and doing all these different things, and I'm following a lot of it. Kind of.
Yeah, right.
Kind of. We went back into the control room where they control the video, and they've got their replay system that feeds it out to all the press boxes and all the different sky boxes, and then the scoreboard things and all the oh my goodness gracious, what an incredible room. And this is for, granted it's a major college hockey program building, but oh my goodness gracious, the amount of technology. And, our good friend Ben is right in the middle of that stuff, and he's comfortable. Yeah, this is great. It's like another day at the park for him. And it's like, I'm just intimidated by watching those big wads of wires going up into the ceiling. Right. It's like,
Well, and Mike the rigger, he's an engineer and knows more about the loads and what will what kind of weight and the balance of the things that are hanging in all the rigging and what's available to them and what's not and what they can do and what they can't. He's usually the guy, when Ben or whoever says, I want this and I want that and I want this and I want that and I want that to hang here and this to swing over there, he's be able to look up there and just see in his head, well, that's possible and that's not possible.
Oh, yeah. And again, with a large facility, with a hockey arena and multi-level, I mean, they're hanging things. It was like we got to look from a catwalk when we were down at Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Convention Center. Yeah. And as we were looking up there, it's like, gosh, that's about the same height. I mean, and the amount of rigging that has to happen.
Right.
Just we saw some of the or not follow spots, but some of the moving head spots and they're 1,200 watt moving head fixtures.
Right.
And then the phrase 3-phase came out so many times with these big follow spot cannon things that are like 6 feet long. It's like, whoa.
It's crazy. And to listen to Ben, it's really funny. Every time somebody asked him a question about a certain situation, his first answer was always, okay, I'm going to give you the engineer's answer. First answer is always, it depends.
I hear that on Tuesday
nights. Which made a lot
of
sense. I mean, yes, anything is possible. But the specific answer to your question is, it depends. What does it depend on? It depends on what we're not going to see. It depends on what happens when we get there.
Hang on, Bill.
Depends on what situation and where, if we have everything that's going to be in front of us.
There we go. We were getting audio. All of a sudden, you stopped moving. So I was wondering, hey, wait a second. If you're trying to make a point by,
yeah, no, no, that's okay.
Okay.
I was good. I was doing a little bit of an interpretational dance
of what it's like to get it depends from Ben Stowe 20 times in an hour.
Exactly. This is what it is. This is what it feels like.
Yeah, that's
jazz hands.
Yeah, that's and as when Ben goes into the detail and he's talking about these different aspects of whether it's power capabilities or what have you, and he's giving it depends. And when he starts explaining all the different variables and such, and it makes me think to myself, I wonder if Jeremy Breck would come up and do lighting if I needed it.
Well, Jeremy's a pretty smart guy too.
Oh, yeah.
But Ben and his team are engineers.
Yeah.
They're geniuses. Okay, they talk a different language. They communicate by Klingon. Okay, I get it. Okay, I really do, and I'm glad that they can. But I have to regularly, if I'm going to have too long of a talk with Ben, I have to, he either notices that I start to glaze over, or I have to stop him and go, okay, in English.
Yeah.
He's so smart.
Yeah.
And thank goodness that his team all talk the same Klingon language that he does. Really. Because he makes miracles happen.
Yes.
Because of the work that he does.
Oh, yeah.
And he is the guy to call if you don't know how to make something work, because he knows, man.
Yeah.
It amazes me still that he is part of the team here to be able to talk technology on DJNTV, because without him, you and I trying to explain, well, this one, here's the light bulb and here's the switch, and you can make it go if you know who to talk to.
And you can fix it with this, I'm sure.
Right. Always have a Rolodat.
Got a Rolodat tape, we're good to go.
Let's have a beer.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work, just have another beer. Oh. Well, good stuff, Bill. Good stuff. I want to just kind of chat a little bit about the lighting symposium and a little bit about your thoughts about lighting, because again, you're coming from that acting and that theater side more than probably 99% of the DJs out there. So it's kind of cool to get your impressions on how that lighting should be incorporated into our shows.
Well, my impressions are always, if I'm going to add anything to an event, I want to know how it's going to impact the event. If I'm going to add lighting, I want the lighting to make people go, oh, or feel a certain way,
right,
without any help from me. So if I'm going to add lighting, or if I'm going to add, even just to add music, or just to add draping, or whatever it is that I'm going to add to an event, anything that I do, anything that I say, anything that we add technology-wise should enhance. And oftentimes when I get really excited about gear, I'll add it just because I think it's cool. Well, that's not necessarily helping me later on when somebody looks at what I've created, because you can tell when you're amusing yourself and when you are really trying to affect a room. And if, like I said, if one piece of lighting makes the room go, oh, then I've done my job. Okay. Same thing. If I can do the same thing with a curtain, if I can do the same thing with a well-placed song or a sound effect, or just with a line given to a guest who may give it later on, it's all about, why do I do it? Why should I do it? And why is it important?
mm-hmm.
And so I come from that point of view, whether it be lighting, whether it be props, whether it be music or costuming or my tuxedo or my rig or my gear or my music, everything I look at, I break it all down, and I ask those questions. How is it going to impact the event as a whole? And then those moments that I'm trying to create. And if it impacts it in a really amazing way that the whole room will be able to be involved with, then I'm in. If it's just making me go, ooh, cool, then not so much. Yeah. I don't always go there. Doesn't mean I don't. Doesn't mean I don't still want to amuse myself with a cool piece of gear. But I'm going to get a lot farther in my career. I'm going to get a whole lot more people that are talk about what I did and look for me to do something at their event if I take them into consideration, and how this tool will make the event just that much bigger, or a whole lot bigger, just because I added one small thing.
Yeah.
And lighting's no small thing, but you don't need a lot of it to get a lot of impact.
Oh, exactly.
Sometimes you do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good way to leave it for our Wednesday night lighting chat. Like, yeah,
I still find it just really ironic that I'm the guy you chose.
Well, again,
to do lighting.
Because we're talking in a different direction. I mean, usually, when I've got the guys, we've got Edgar and Nick, and when they share, and I've had Brian Red on, and these guys can really get into the technical side of the lights and how to use it in their ways. How to whatever. How to plug things into it. And that's obviously a very important part of the lights, and that was part of what you learned. But to incorporate it in a show, and the reason why, I think there's probably one of my favorite questions that I picked up from taking your entertainment experience, is the why behind so many things is so important, and it's quickly overlooked because sometimes we're too lazy to really want to dig for the answer of why. It's easier.
Well, and by the way, thanks again. You were a part of one of our first entertainment experience workshops, and you've always been a great proponent of it. And because of people like you, we're doing another one here in the United States here in November on the 17th, 18th, and 19th. I think it's the week after your Disc Jockey News Conclave in Minneapolis at the Electric Voice headquarters, same place that the EV, or same place that the Lighting Symposium was.
Yeah.
And we only take on 16 people. There's still a few seats available. If people really want to know more about it, they can certainly reach me, billcreates.com.
Sure.
Or just look up my name, find me on the internet. My number is everywhere, so it's easy to call. I hope that people can not be afraid to ring. But I do want to be sure that if they know that we only do this once a year in the United States.
Yeah.
And so we'd love for people to be a part of it. And if they have any questions at all, they just have to give us a ring.
Yeah, that sounds great. They can check again, billcreates.com. Check that out. But I think we're going to wrap things up. Again, thank you, Bill, for being on tonight.
Absolutely.
And this is John Young with the Disc Jockey News and Disc Jockey News TV. Good night.
And I'm Bill Hermann, and we'll see you Monday with the Bill and Jason Show.
That's right. Bill and Jason Show, Monday, 9:30 Central.
Yeah, baby.
You got to check that out. Great stuff.
Thanks, John.
Good night.